Hey everyone, Shawn here with Manley Made Minute and welcome back. So as promised in my last video for my 30-day challenge, my number 30 watercolor on the larger stamp, I promised a recap and I thought it would be fun to just kind of give a recap of my 30 days of my watercoloring challenge, why I did it, my favorites, my learning experience, and my ahas and my takeaways. So first off, I just want to preface, I started this with just wanting to learn watercolors just a little bit more. I bought a pan set because I thought it was, you know, I've seen everybody do all these watercolors, and I wanted to learn it, and I wanted to incorporate it into my cards because I just thought it was a fun medium. But I think the last time I colored was probably grade school, and I think before that it was the coloring books that would come with the pre-watercolor on there, and you'd wet it and then fill in the gaps. That ages me probably. I think my mom used to get them at the dime store that she worked at. So I thought it was just time for me to kind of level up on some sort of technique, and watercolor was one of them just because it intrigued me. And then I landed upon the Tim Holtz watercolored pencils and just was like wowed by this medium, wowed by the pencils themselves, and thought, I've got to learn more, and I've got to do this. So I also reached out to an Instagram friend of mine, Carrie Ingram Trainer, who does Copic coloring and is amazing at, like absolutely amazing at it. So I reached out to her going, how'd you get so good? She does something every single night. And so she told me she started out, there's a personal story behind it, that's hers to share, but she started out by just doing a pumpkin every single night and learning how to do the pumpkin and the shading and the markers and how the markers worked and, you know, the different color shadings to get the blend. And so she just did that, I don't know, 30 days or more for every night. And now she does something every single night, and she's amazing at it. And I thought, I can take that and do that with my watercolors. And so that's what I did. And I truly had so much fun doing it. I learned so much. I actually ended up having a few people follow me, and I've tagged them in my posts, so you can go back on Instagram and find them. There's 3 people that end up following this and then doing their own, and we tagged each other. So it just kind of got the momentum going, and it even got me more excited because I was like, God, I'm doing something, and people are learning from it, and it's inspiring other people to do the same. So it just got me excited. So I decided to do the same stamp. I went through all my stamps, and I bought this newer one from Hero Arts, Peony Bunches, and it had the florals and had the leaves. And I thought the florals would be the great place to start because everyone does a floral watercolor, right? And I don't remember what mediums I started with and how I went through the process of what mediums to pick, but I know I did watercolored pencils. I did the re-inkers. I did the ink pads and stamped them. I did the bleeding of the watercolors. I did distress oxides, distress oxide sprays, distress oxide spritz. I used perfect pearls. I kind of mixed everything, right? Because I just wanted to learn all these different mediums, how they work with water, how they worked on and everything. So that's how I got where I'm at, and just so pleased that I did it. So I wrote down some of my top key learnings as I did this, and I want to show you the final 30 and then the 2 cards I made out of these, just because there's the other inspiration of this, right? So number 1, I think, which is probably the most important, I think, because I learned, again, by trial and error, and this was not about making something perfect and posting it on YouTube and Instagram. This was posting what I was learning, good or bad. I had some really bad ones, but I posted them anyway, because this was not about showing something perfect as much as it was the process. So my key learning, number 1, is paper is probably the most important. I have 2 types of paper. I have Canson XL watercolor paper, and I have Neenah 110-pound index cardstock that I use for my cards. Does not necessarily work for watercolor. It does if you want certain effects from it, but it doesn't necessarily work. It buckles. It's a thirsty paper, and it drinks that water, and it was really tough to do. There was days that I accidentally stamped on that, and then I'm like, well, I'm going to do it anyway because this is the learning process, right? But in the end, watercolor paper is the way to go, no matter how much you're doing. Now, if you're just doing a little tiny piece, like a little tiny flower, fine. You can use probably whatever you want. But if you're doing kind of a full stamp and a full card front, watercolor paper. I mean, hands down. There are other kinds of paper out there. I just purchased Canson XL watercolor paper because I'd seen other people do it. It was in my price range at the time. It came in a big tablet, and I knew I could get a lot of cards out of it, so I was going for cost effectiveness. I was going for how much can I get out of it, and then simplicity. It just seemed like the simplest paper to start with. I know there's Strathmore. I know there's heat press, non-heat press. I'm following a guy on TikTok and now YouTube, a watercolor artist who uses Yupo a lot. So I Googled that the other night to find out what Yupo is, and I definitely want to try it, but it's a little more advanced. But he has said on his videos and his lives a lot that it is hands down the best for him, and it's easy to work with, and but it's different. It's a different kind of paper. So I definitely want to explore the different types of paper. It's kind of my next phase to see how they react with the different products and what works best for what I'm developing. I feel like developing my own style and my own taste and stuff with this, and that's part of that process. Tools. Number 2 is tools. Tools are key. I have super cheap paintbrushes. I have kind of medium priced, and then I have what was considered at the time for me a little more expensive. They're $50 for 6 of them. I found them on YouTube. Tim Holtz was using them. He recommended them. They were from Amazon, so I purchased those, and I'll put all the links to this stuff in the description for you all for today's video. But I like them. They're a decent price. They did the job. The set didn't come with a fine tip, and I realized I need kind of a fine, medium, and a large. I didn't use a large brush hardly ever, but I don't think you need a whole set. A fine, medium, and a large to start is plenty. So I do need to invest in a fine tip one to get more fine lines and different things. I can't do stems and things real well because I don't have a fine tip. I have some finer tips I purchased. They were cheaper on Amazon, and now they're already starting to fray at the ends, and they don't hold their shape. So I got to invest a little bit. So invest in good tools, but start cheap, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you need until you try. And so I'm not regretting I purchased cheaper tools. I'm just regretting I didn't have, you regret that you didn't, in the process of this halfway through, I'm like, gosh, now I could just use better tools because now I'm getting it. But don't spend a ton of money, honestly, because you can do really good work with some of the cheap stuff too. And I did 30 days with cheaper stuff and about a $50 set of 6, right? So don't break the bank, but a fine tip, a medium tip, and a larger tip, and like a mop kind of brush. The mop kind of brushes are more like, they're kind of rounded and thicker kind of in the middle, so they sop up water, they hold water. So a mop type brush, which is that Tim Holtz set, which I'll link below, is a mop type brush, I call it. And so number 1 is paper, number 2 is tools. Number 3, and you don't know this until you go through something like this, but know your product. Know what the product does, know how it reacts, but that was what I needed to learn through this 30 days, was just the product and how it reacts and what it does. So over time you do that. As we make cards, we know which one we like better for sentiments for ink. We know which one we like better for stamping and die cutting, and so get to know our product. Same with watercoloring. Different mediums work different ways. They react to water different ways. They react to the paper different ways. They pull off the paper and go on the paper different ways. So I realized as I was doing this, it was really beneficial for me to know these different types of products. And I explain that stuff in my videos. Two good examples. One, I like the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils. The product moves, it lifts, it spreads, it's got tons of pigment in it. I like that product. It's probably my number 1 favorite so far. I do like my pan set, don't get me wrong. My pan set, it's a little thinner. They dry back much lighter. The other one that was a really big aha was re-inkers. Re-inkers react for some reason way different in water than what I thought they would. It's almost like oil and water, how they mix, and it's on surface tension of water. Once you tap it, it just spreads. It immediately covers that surface tension. So it reacted so much different than I expected. I didn't get the blooming and the intensity that I thought I was going to get. So Key learning was just to know how that product reacts and how intense it is, how workable it is. Does it hit the paper and then you can't move it and work it around? Does it have a ton of workability and you got a ton of time to work it? So that was key learning. Towards the end, I did distress oxides. You know, distress oxides are a different ink in themselves, right? And so they didn't spread and pull back like I thought they would. I like the results, but I just know I gotta probably work with them a little bit more. I only did a couple cards towards the end with them to get them to do what I want them to do. Or if they can't, then they can't. I gotta learn that, right? But I like the product. I like the colors. I like the texture of it, the chalkiness of it on those oxides. So it's a little different workability, I guess is the best way to explain it for those oxides, but I like it. And I've just purchased a whole bunch of Tim Holtz oxides and sprays and things because I'm going down that rabbit hole right now. So learn and try different techniques. You know, as I did this, I'll be honest, I've been watching other people's videos, other artists that I like. I like their style, I like their videos, I like their demeanor, I like how they do things and explain things. So I have certain artists that I follow and watch, right? I'm watching them and learning from them, and then I come back and I try it. That's what this 30 days was. It was also some self-discovery of like, oh, look, it does that. So I'm going to do that a little bit more, and then try that a little bit more, and get to, oh, okay, I like that technique. I got to remember that for highlighting and for pulling stuff back, right? So like wetting the paper and getting a puddle and different thing and pooling and things I watched from somebody else. So learn it. There's a couple different phrases. You're going to learn the wet to dry, that's going wet onto dry paper, wet to wet, wet paper, wet product, so wet to wet, thirsty brush. You know, a thirsty brush is a dry brush. So if you're brushing and then you dry it off, now it's dry and thirsty for water, so you can pick up water off your paper, or product off your paper. So learn how to work with a thirsty brush and a wet brush, right? Learn the pulling back and pulling product off for highlighting better, or re-highlighting, or you got too much product. And then you'll notice this in my last 30-day video on the 30th day. It was a longer video, but there was reason behind it. I started developing these techniques a little bit more, and so one of them is layering. Layering your colors to get the shading and the intensity and the texture and the dark, all the highlights and different layers of color is so important. I didn't do a ton of layering through my 30 days because I was still learning all that, right? And then drying in between and adding more. But remember, add more, and it's a water reactive product. It's still going to water react the other stuff that's already on there. So just keep that in mind. But learn those techniques. Learn from other people. That was key, is just learning these and watching these and seeing something and then coming back and trying it. And then that leads me to my last one. Try it. Don't be shy. I know as artists, sometimes we don't want to show our bad stuff, or we don't want to show a mistake, or we don't want to show that we don't know what we're doing. I'll be honest, this was like putting myself out there and kind of vulnerable, right? I had comments on these videos that were very helpful to me. I did not take them as a negative, that I didn't know what I was doing. I've had people sidebar me and message me saying, you're doing awesome, and hey, try this, or hey, you need one of these brushes. So I didn't take that as a bad way. I'm learning, and that's what this was. So don't be shy. Have fun with it. The biggest thing is to have fun, and don't be shy about it. Our art is about having fun, and so this was truly about just learning and having fun. Don't be afraid to try something new and watch other artists and try it. Whether you do it on camera or put it out on social media or put a picture about it, or just try it in the privacy of your craft room. Try it. Push yourself. And then follow other artists. So in the process of this, I started, searching watercolor artists and things on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and started following them. And then don't be afraid to ask them questions. I asked a ton of questions of this certain artist, and thankfully he got back to me. Thankfully he was very open to what I asked about paper, I asked about brushes, I asked about some techniques of what he was doing, and what am I doing wrong? I'm trying to get this to do this. Don't be afraid to ask. And then don't be afraid to share your work. I know I just said it a little bit ago. Share the good, the bad, the ugly. It's great to have feedback. It's great to just have people encourage you. I had way more encouraging comments than I did feedback comments. I got some feedback, and I don't mean that negatively, but I got way more encouraging feedback going, you're awesome, you're doing great, these are looking great, I can see the difference. And so don't don't be afraid to do that, because in the end I realized, you know, what I was doing was encouraging others, and I ended up having 3 people, you know, ask, hey, can we do this too, and tag each other and get everybody to follow us and like follow our journey. And so I didn't realize in this process that I'm encouraging others, which was encouraging me to even do better and do more. And so yeah, that's kind of my top 5. There's probably more. I tried to narrow it down to my top 5 things that I've learned and why I did this. And I'll be honest, this is probably one of the funnest things I think I've done in my crafting, in my card making so far, and I've had a ton of fun things. Starting my YouTube channel is one of them. Just putting myself out there, encouraged to do it by friends and family, and just, hey, you got a craft here, put it out there. Whether you get people to follow you or not, right? And so in the journey, you don't know what you're going to run across. And I've ran across some great friends, and I keep in contact with some of these artists now through the process of it. I'll be honest, I have a couple that I've sent some gifts and some pictures and some things I've painted and cards I've made and frames and different things, and I've gotten some stuff back. So just don't be afraid to put yourself out there and have fun. The biggest thing is have fun. Don't make it a job. Don't make it stressful. If you are, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. Just have fun with it. So I thought it would be fun to go over my 30 days again. I can't remember what day I used what, so I can't say, oh, this was this product and this was this product. So I'm going to go over my 30 days. I made a card out of my 30th day and a card out of one of my favorites, which was, I believe, day 8. And then I've got my top 5 I'll show you of my favorites that I did out of these. Before I do that, the other thing, you know, as I made these 2 cards, I realized I have 30 hand-painted, watercolored florals sitting here. Good or bad. I can still make cards out of these. Nobody's going to know any different. I can mock, and you'll see what I did to these cards. I can ink splatter these. I can go back with colored pencil and color them in and mock them up and intensify them and make them a little better and make me fix my mistakes maybe, right? I took and used some Pink and Main stitch dies to cut them out with a rectangle stitch die and make these cards. I've got 30 cards I could make here and give away or mail or make a pack out of them and give them as a gift. So nobody's going to know any different. I have realized I've given a couple of my watercolored stuff out, and they've like, oh, that's a great card. Did you make it? I'm like, yeah, it's hand painted, and people are astonished, right? So yeah, I've got 30 cards I can make, and there's a couple that I absolutely hate in here. I'm still probably, this is one of them. I'm still going to make a card out of it. I'm probably going to have to jazz it up or ink splatter it or do something with it to get it a little bit better, but it's still usable in my opinion. So I'm going to go to the down camera. We're going to show you these 30 days, then I'll show you my top 5, and we'll come back and we'll close out. So, all right, let's just take a look. Here is my 30 days. Now I'm missing 2 out of here. I'm missing day 8 and day 30 because I've got them to the side here with the cards I made. So this is day 1. I felt like not bad for day 1 because I tried to do some dark and lights and some shading, and it was there. I kind of had the idea, I think, in my head. My leaves weren't the greatest. And then day 2, and I tried to switch up the colors to see if I could get things to show and pop out differently, and so I tried to do different colors on all these. This is day 3. You can see I'm still trying to work on the shading at the bases and different things. Day 4 I didn't like, and so I went back through with a brown colored pencil to try to do that, and then I think I even made it worse. So this is one of my least favorites out of all of them. And I tried to ink splatter it and cover it up. This is at the very beginning, and then I realized don't do any of this until the end. This is day 5, one of my favorites because it is so intense in color, and I'm starting to get the variance in textures and colors going. Day 6 is in my top 5. I love the color, I love the combination, I love the shading. The leaves were starting to turn out the way I liked them, so this is one in my top 5. Day 7, I tried to mimic what I tried to do here with reds and browns, and it got a little muddy on me, so that just did not work. Again, learning about layering and starting light, going darker, and I should have layered here, but I wasn't there yet. Day 8, it's in my favorites because of the color combination. I like the color combination. I like the more yellowy kind of leaves on it with the pinks. Day 10, I like this one. I think this is in my top 5 possibly as well. Yes, it is because of the color. Day 11, this was more of a dry back technique, and so I like how I got the little pools to dry on this one. 12, got too washed out and muddy. 13, didn't like the color combination, wasn't blending like I thought. 14, don't mind it, very Christmassy, little muted. This was this was not shimmers on this one, I don't believe. There was a little bit of shimmer on the leaves. This is 15. I actually really like this one. I was trying to do the ombre thing, and I thought, let's just do a rainbow. This world was at a weird place at this time with the election and things, and I just wanted to. This night was about just coloring, and I thought, let's do a rainbow. And it actually turned out pretty good. Day 16 is in my top 5. I just like this technique overall. I've used it several times in videos, so I do like this one. Day 17, this was all about shimmer and shine. I don't remember which product this was. Day 18, 19, 20, probably my least favorite. This was my first time using shimmer, I think it was shimmer powders, and I put it on the wrong paper, and then I couldn't stamp over it because of the shine, and it just, yeah, not my, I'm going to use this, I just got to figure out how to fix it, make it better, and do something with it. And then this is 21, this was another dry back technique, which I really liked. 22, no, nothing popped on this one, I couldn't get anything to happen on that night for some reason. 23, same, I just was losing my mojo on texture, but I like it. Bright and colorful. This is 24. I like this one. I wish these would have turned out like this one would have turned out like these. I didn't leave enough highlighting and I didn't pull it back in time. So, but this is very Christmassy to me. These two, 25 and 26, are in my least favorite because of the embossing. If you look closely, the coloring isn't so bad, but I couldn't see because it was shining off the paper so bad. Distress Oxides. So this is day 27, 28, 29 was my last time before doing my final big card and changing it up. So I was trying different techniques of what I knew I wanted to do on the card I finished here on day 30. So this was Distress Oxides. No, I'm sorry. This was Tim Holtz watercolored pencils because I knew I was going to use that on day 30. So I was getting close to what I was trying to do. All right. The other thing I felt with using this stamp for the 30 days is I felt I was losing options on what I could do to color it and do differently because of this certain stamp, and I did it so many times. I was like, I don't even know how to shade this anymore. So 30 days probably was too long, but at the same time I felt it was just enough because I still learned a lot. All right, day 8 and day 30 I made cards out of. So day 8, you know what we need? Hang on. We need a drum roll. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. Let's just crank that up because I don't know if it comes through the screen or not. And I'm going to redo it just because. So we're going to crank that up. We're going to do a little drum roll here. All right. Day 8, you guys. So, day 8. One of my favorites. It is not in my top 5, but it is one of my favorites because I love this color combination. I love how the leaves turned out. I did ink splatter this with Distress Oxide Spritz, or Distress Spritz, Villainous, and black watercolor. So just to jazz it up a little bit, put it on black paper. I stamped it with Hello There, which is from a newer stamp set that I just recently purchased from Simon Says Stamp. This is the Hi There Greetings. So I used that for my greeting. I ink splattered the paper that I stamped this on with the Villainous Potion Spritz. Then I stamped it, and I used the die cut to cut these out. And then I just fussy cut this one out. So there is a card. Then on the inside, I took that same stamp, just in a lighter purple, and brought that theme kind of to the inside. So again, this shows you I can do this. I got 30 of these that I can turn into beautiful cards, right? All right, one more time. Drum roll on day 30, you guys. I can't stand how this turned out. Here it is. So I changed up the stamp for the very last day to do a big floral. Practice all these techniques, practice my drawing and drawing back and layering my colors and doing my shading, and I actually had to show my partner going, I can't believe I made this. I truly cannot believe I painted this and I made this. I got my shadowing underneath, so where the leaves overlap. I got my shadowing at the base. I did my brighter at the tips and my oranges and my browns at the base. I did 2 different browns in here to get that darker to light because I have the sun coming from this side. I did about 3 or 4 different colors on the leaves to kind of soften them down to get a fall-y kind of feel because they were too green and bright at first. I ink splattered this with the squeezed lemonade spritz and the another green spritz. It was, I will tell you, Rustic Wilderness on the back. And then I just die cut this out because this comes with a die cut set. Put it up on dimensionals. Then I spritzed the lemonade spritz on a piece of scratch piece of paper, stamped this out, die cut that out. So I just had a little bit of shimmer and a little bit of yellow on that sentiment. So then on the inside I just took this in yellow and stamped that on the inside to kind of carry that, see if I can get that not to shine so much, carry that theme on the inside from that card. So that is day 30 with all my shading. Now I'm going to show you front view of this because it does pop up on camera. Really nice. That down camera just washes that out a tiny bit. So day 30. I feel like I made, look at day 1 to day 30. I think I made progress. I truly think I made progress. I'm super happy with it. Can't wait to make my 30 more cards out of these and give them away as little hand-painted cards. So thank you all so much. I hope this encouraged you to do some sort of journey of your own. It doesn't have to be watercolor. Maybe it's stamping. You want to learn to stamp better, or maybe it's just learning a different product, right? I need to learn this ink pad better, and you're going to do this ink pad for 30 days. Or maybe you're not a fan of red, and you got to get used to red, and you want to use everything red. I hope this encourages you to try something. I hope it encourages you to put it out there. And just be vulnerable, because trust me, there will be people that will encourage you. There will be people that will make suggestions, and I took that as a positive. I'm not the expert at any of this, and I don't think any of us truly are, because we can learn every day. So thank you so much for following my journey. I hope this encourages you to do better, be better, and just get better at your craft and be a better person. So again, thank you all so very much. Don't forget to follow me on YouTube and Instagram, Manly Made Minute. Hit that like and subscribe button. Any comments are always welcome and greatly appreciated. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up and let me know that you like what you see and like what I'm doing, and I can keep giving you more. So thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for watching my 30-day challenge, and hopefully you're going to go from here and get something out and start trying it. So until next time, I'll see you then.